Welcome to another OCD Recovery Instagram Live. I know what you're thinking, 2 in a day. That is a lot for me, 2 in a day. I'm going to be talking about something that I was thinking all week. I thought I've got to cover this on an OCD on an OCD, I don't even need the word OCD there, on Instagram Live, because it is something that definitely people with OCD, people without OCD, are very, very anxious about. Coronavirus. Now, what is that? We know roughly what it is, but let's go into a bit of detail about it. And how should we be dealing with it? Well, how we shouldn't be dealing with it, reassure ourselves constantly there's nothing to worry about, because that doesn't calm down OCD. That's reassurance. However, we do need to know a little bit about it, so we've got some guidelines, some idea, but it doesn't really matter, because even if it was going to wipe us all out in the next 24 hours, if you accepted death and accepted it, you could be at peace with that and enjoy the next 24 hours. Might be a pretty amazing 24 hours, to tell the truth. Everyone might go out to the bar, have so much fun, hook up with each other. Might be an amazing, amazing time. But I'm pretty happy that's not actually going to happen, most likely. So let's look at this coronavirus situation. Now, I'm not an expert on coronavirus, but I have a bit of an understanding. So newspapers are obviously going to work on really trying to scare people, because that's how they sell them. And OCD sufferers do not like, usually, political unrest, things to do with nuclear, so North Korea type situations, and they do not like virus outbreaks. 1, because of fear of contamination, OCD. 2, death, which is obviously at the core of all health OCD. So you've got that combination there that's going on. Now, coronavirus is a virus that doesn't seem to have killed many people. However, when people try and reassure people, they'll say, well, it hasn't killed many people and the death rate's very low. Very true. And that's realistically, hopefully, how it will be. But then OCD and humans with our minds will then look at the next things, which are all possibilities that we do not know. So if we look at viruses, they can change. They can suddenly change. They can get into different situations where they reach places in the world where they're not developed enough to control the virus, which can cause a lot of problems. And things could adapt and change. We could see things like that happen. And that scares us, because we think, oh my God, how quickly could we get contaminated? Because the humans move around the world very quickly these days. We go to all different countries. Traveling is very cheap, so we can move around and get to places. So viruses can spread very quickly. Now, if we go back to 1918, maybe I'm wrong, Spanish flu, that killed millions of people. Now, when it started, it only killed very few people, and then in a very short amount of time, it just went right up and killed so many people, because obviously you had the situation of a war, which meant that people were, obviously the world was not in a way to handle disease, and you had people in close proximity, and so it was the perfect breeding ground for a disease. Now, we don't remember those things. Well, most people don't remember those things day to day. And so we forget that the world can go really, really wrong. It's not just a safe place where we're reassured all the time, life is fine, life is happy. Things can go wrong. Things can go really wrong. We could have singularity in the future with AI, where AI could take over the world and just do away with humans. So we'd like to think that doesn't happen, but it could happen. Various different things that we could see in changes that can be catastrophic. And acceptance and uncertainty. Uncertainty is about learning to accept, well, maybe these things could happen, getting comfortable with sort of floating along, with not knowing the uncertainty, which is a key part of it. But also at the core of a lot of these is accepting death. Once I really got into that really got that stuff down, where I could see that, well, I'm going to die anyway, that's guaranteed. I'm only on this earth for a flicker of time in the scheme of the universe's length. So I'm going to definitely be dead. That's guaranteed. So I'm only going to be dying a bit sooner. Well, could I accept that? Yeah, I could. Wouldn't like it. I'd miss out on a few things, but that would just be what it is. It's just, I would be one human that dies as a part of the billions of humans that die. It's just how it is, and I could completely accept that and make peace with it. I really wouldn't like it. It'd be challenging, but overall, it is what it is. Now, that attitude and that deep acceptance that I really feel that, means that I'm not concerned with the coronavirus. I'm healthily concerned. I hope it doesn't get worse and cause lots of problems for humanity. But I'm not chronically anxious. I'm living my life. I couldn't care if I read an article today that says coronavirus gone up to 5,000 people. It's not going to make me any more anxious if it was down to 800 people. Concerned more, yes, but that's about it. And I think that's really important. And what is really not recognised is if you go online, you see different people talking about coronavirus and OCD community and so on. It's very, very important to realise that you can't reassure OCD sufferers in any situations. You can't just say, okay, there's a big outbreak, we must reassure here. No, it's got to be in all, because it doesn't make a difference. When you've got a deeper level of acceptance with these things, it doesn't matter what's coming, because you could accept it. Only our perspectives are what make us anxious, okay? People didn't just sit chronically anxious in the world wars. They were enjoying life still. They were still eating dinner. They were still doing things, right? That they did that. They accepted, yeah, maybe I do die. And they believed that, right? And they got used to that. And that's an important part, that a level of acceptance. We can't reassure OCD sufferers. So by saying coronavirus is not going to be like the others, it's not, don't worry, it's not as catastrophic, that is reassurance. And we can't say that for this as we can't say that for anything, because it doesn't work for OCD. So it is very much like with health OCD, accepting death. It is very much about learning to give up internal control, give up the checking compulsions of the news all the time, what's happening with coronavirus, what's happening all the time with that, and all that kind of stuff, because that is what is keeping the cycle going. I used to get this one with things with political things, where I thought, oh, maybe there could be nuclear war and so on. And then once that happened a few times, I was like, well, if it happens, it happens. There's not much I can do about it. Might as well enjoy the moment. And as Albert Ellis says, have a ball, because that's the only point that, of being alive on this planet, is to have a fun, and have a laugh regardless, because we're all here for a very short time. Nothing in the big scheme of things really matters. Okay. Now, I was only coming on here to do a very brief talk on this coronavirus situation, but I will answer some very quick questions. Surprised I'm not stressed about it. I think it's a media bit. Yeah, it's different. Some OCD sufferers are stressed, some aren't. I was speaking to Stephanie the other day, someone I work with, and she's in Australia, and she posted a picture to our group chat of fires and stuff in Australia, and she said, that's not scaring me. It's bad, and it's really, really bad what's happening in the country, but it's not scaring me. And she, we have different feelings about different things. I have guys that work with me from the army, from the police, that are around shootings regularly and stuff like that, and involved in a lot of really serious combat stuff, and they're not concerned about that. They're concerned about some ROCD or something in the back of their head. So OCD can latch to the OCD thing and not these big concerns that are right in front of us. Is acceptance means believing false beliefs for the sake of recovery? No, acceptance is learning to rationally, that means see realistically, scientific evidence-based things. That all anxiety is when we over-exaggerate something. So I say, oh, spider, oh my God, it's the scariest thing ever. What if it climbs over my leg? That's completely irrational. As opposed to a small animal trying to live its life, crawling around with some large legs that we kind of think are weird and strange and very scared of them sort of walking all over us, right? Nothing to be scared of there. Breaking things down rationally. When you do that, they become more digestible to the brain. So the brain goes, that's very easy to accept and make peace with, and that goes in, as opposed to big scary spider. All right, just accept that and force that away. No, that's okay, big scary spider, just leave that there. It's not going to leave that there. It's going to be like, fucking hell, there's a big scary spider there. So we've got to break it down like that. Okay, let's have a look here. Can't do acceptance for POCD or HOCD. Absolutely can, but it's not tackled as it's tricky to do that on your own. You won't see it. That won't see it as easy. It took me a long time to see that like that. We cover that in the group and the one-to-one sessions very specifically. It has to be broken down from quite a lot of angles to do that. Otherwise, it can seem like, how on earth am I going to do that? It has to be done so that you can see it bit by bit by bit build up. We have to accept we can't be certain. That's a good point too. Absolutely. It's accepting that you have the thought, not accepting you are what the thought says. Absolutely it's that. But it's also acknowledging that even in a lot of instances, now hold on, this is not saying that there's no reality in it. I'm saying this. Even if I got in a violent confrontation and stabbed somebody, I wouldn't like to get in a violent confrontation and stab someone. And I don't think it'd be very likely for me. But I'm human, and maybe in the wrong situation, I could act like that. And if I acted like that, I would strongly dislike my actions. But I'm human, and I could act like that. How do I know? Millions of humans have done that in the past and today. So it is possible. So even I could possibly do that. And I could accept that. I could dislike the act, a wrong act. I really do not like that act. But I wouldn't write me off. I could always change. I could always adapt. And what situation could maybe act like that? Maybe if I walked in on some sexual abuse with a family member, I might suddenly react like that. I've got no idea. So you can't, it's about learning to not write your whole self off. That's what it's about. It takes practice. It takes a lot of understanding to see that. I certainly didn't think like that first. I used to think, oh, if I did that, I'm written off, no good, should be internally, mentally tortured for the rest of my life, and so on and so on. Spiders, you obviously don't live in Australia. Spiders are huge. That is a very, very good point. I'm glad I don't live in Australia for that reason. But with getting used to them there, maybe that wouldn't be the case. I stayed in, where was I last? I was in Australia many years ago, and I remember the house was full of spiders, and I needed a toilet and everything. But I was too young to really notice to find it that scary. But I'm sure it'd be sort of a case of exposures, but I wouldn't be madly keen. Is it normal to feel like you're losing it when you have OCD? Absolutely, because there's a lot of pressure going on in your head. It's going to naturally feel like that. I'm getting married in 2 weeks, and my ROCD is getting bad. Is this normal? Absolutely. Turns up the heat. Weddings, babies, all these kind of life changes. Loves to do that, especially with ROCD because it links in there. Robert, can you recommend me any books of acceptance? Well, for acceptance, the best books are on my reading list that you can find. I think it's on Instagram stories. Breaking down the books that will give you a good understanding about acceptance. Is the book list sufficient for enough insights? There's a lot of insights in there, but it's not specific to OCD. That's why I'm writing a book on OCD, which I think will give the full sort of package of that. But that's why we do the reading list, and obviously I do all the coaching sessions, so I can help put all that together. It's very tricky to do on your own. Even with a book that I write, it will be difficult to do it on your own because there's quite a lot of things you need to see from an insight, from taking a distance and looking at it and seeing where you are and seeing where you're stuck and making those adjustments. Can I contact you through DMs? Yes, but I can only, for DMs, it's only for in relation to coaching. I can't do it for OCD questions because I get sent hundreds and hundreds of those a day. Have you written any books? No, this is my first book. Thanks, Robert. These streams are very helpful. Do you still have ups and downs with OCD? No, I can have a bit of anxiety now and again, but overall I can't tell if I have OCD, I can't tell the difference between having OCD or not. Have I ever had little relapses? Yes, I have, but I haven't had long-term chronic stuck. How often do you do groups for POCD or harm OCD? All the time, every week. Where can I find your books? Instagram stories, reading list at the top. All right, guys, great to have you all here. I will see you on the next Instagram Live.